One of the areas that abuse of power has shown up a lot in the news recently is with police abuse. A lot of the discussion is on a part of the problem that absolutely warrants attention, but is only part of the problem, and that's what the police do. So this involves solutions like putting body cameras on police officers, oversight, scrutiny basically, trying to make it so that there's deterrence to stop police officers abusing their position. What we don't think about often is not what the police do, but who the police are, which is a precursor to the question of who we put into a body camera vest, for example. The way I came to this problem was to look at how recruitment of police officers determines who ends up in the uniform. And I was scouring across the United States and looking at various police departments, and one that stood out to me is this small suburb of Atlanta called Doraville, Georgia. And Doraville, Georgia's got about 10,000 people. Its crime rate is pretty much the national average. In most years, there are no murders. It's not a crime-ridden hotspot. Now, when you used to click on Doraville's website for the police department, you are greeted with this video that is quite frankly insane. It is a video in which the first thing you see is a literal tank screaming into view with the Punisher logo, which is the comic book anti-hero vigilante who tortures criminals. The Punisher logo juxtaposed against this backdrop of a tank with the SWAT team inside of it screaming across the frame. Then the people in the SWAT team's tank get out of the hatch. They're in military uniforms, they're carrying assault weapons, and they toss smoke grenades out of the vehicle. They shoot their weapons, and the whole thing is set to the soundtrack of death metal music. When you think about this video, you look at it and you think, who looks at this video and thinks, that looks like a job I want to have? Right? It is not a normal reaction to look at that video and think, yes, I want to be that person who's screaming around my small town in a SWAT team tank with the Punisher mentality, throwing smoke grenades out at the local Walmart, right? But what that does is it creates a magnet to exactly those people. The people who look at that video and think, wow, that looks cool. I'd love to drive around Walmart in a tank with a smoke grenade and a huge weapon. They sign up. Right? So what you have is this self-selection effect on steroids with policing if you don't think about it carefully. It's not that we can ignore what the police do. We absolutely have to have oversight and very close scrutiny of police officers who abuse their authority. But at the same time, we have to think more carefully about who ends up in the uniform to begin with. And this is something that is clearly shown by the data when you see that the rates of domestic abuse among police officers in the United States is higher than the general average in the public. So, when you think about why that's happening, perhaps it's that the job is making them a bit more on edge or causing them to behave in certain ways. I think what's more likely is that people who are abusive are disproportionately likely to seek out a job in which you can abuse people. Now, this is not to say that police officers are bad people, but it is to say that for the slice of the population that is abusive, especially the people who like to wield power and carry a gun and terrorize people, for them, as one of the police officers in London told me, who's in charge of recruitment for the Metropolitan Police, she said to me, look, if you're an abusive bigot, policing is an attractive career choice. It doesn't mean that police officers are generally abusive bigots. It means that for that slice of the population, they like the idea of being able to professionally abuse people.